Overcoming overthinking. Take back control of your mind. Have you ever found yourself lying in bed, unable to turn off your brain? Your mind keeps going and going, never resting, never stopping. You are stuck in a never-ending cycle of overthinking. It can be exhausting, frustrating, and even debilitating. Ready to become the master of your mind? Great. Let's get started. What is overthinking? Before we talk about how to overcome overthinking, we need to make sure we're on the same page regarding what overthinking is and what it isn't. Overthinking is not OCD. This is a really important distinction. Overthinking is not the same thing as obsessive-compulsive disorder, OCD. One of the key differences between overthinking and OCD is the absence of compulsive acts done to ease the repetitive thoughts. If you think that you may have OCD, you should talk to a medical professional. Overthinking is not worrying. Another important distinction about overthinking is that it's not the same as worrying. In addition, worrying is often driven by external factors such as an upcoming event or deadline, while overthinking can happen at any time without a clear cause. Overthinking is not thorough. Planning. Overthinking can result in overplanning, but they're not necessarily the same thing. If you find yourself constantly thinking through and planning for even the most unlikely circumstances, you may be overthinking. So what exactly is overthinking? What are some of its hallmark characteristics? Second, overthinking is usually rooted in the future or the past. What are some of the signs of overthinking? The negative effects of overthinking. Overthinking can have various negative effects on your mental and emotional well-being. Additionally, overthinking can impact your relationships with others. It can also make it difficult for you to make decisions. What's more, overthinking can lead to problems or issues being blown out of proportion. The unfortunate reality is that overthinking is a chicken and egg problem. What causes overthinking? Overthinking can be caused by a number of things. Some of the most common causes include anxiety or stress. If you struggle with anxiety or are experiencing a particularly stressful time in your life, it can lead to overthinking. Fear of failure. The fear of failing at something can cause your mind to constantly worry and ruminate over every possible outcome. Perfectionism. When you have high expectations for yourself and everything around you, it can lead to overthinking and trying to control every aspect of a situation. Trauma or past experiences. Past traumas or negative experiences can cause your mind to constantly replay them, leading to overthinking and anxiety. Lack of confidence. If you lack confidence in yourself or your decision-making abilities, it can lead to overthinking and second-guessing yourself. Habit. Overthinking can become a habit, especially if you constantly analyze every situation in your life. Desire for control. Wanting to have control over every aspect of your life can lead to overthinking and trying to plan for every possible outcome. As you can see, the causes of overthinking are many and numerous. How to overcome overthinking. The good news is that you can overcome your overthinking. Pay attention to your thoughts. The first step in overcoming overthinking is to pay close attention to your thinking. Challenge your thoughts. Once you have identified your overthinking patterns and triggers, the next step is to challenge them. All or nothing thinking. Seeing things only in black and white, with no grey areas. Overgeneralization. Making sweeping conclusions based on only one instance or event. Mental filtering. Focusing only on the negative aspects of a situation and ignoring the positive aspects. Mind reading. Assuming that you know what others are thinking without any evidence to support it. Catastrophizing. Blowing things out of proportion and imagining the worst-case scenario. Should statements. Putting unrealistic expectations on yourself or others. Labeling. Attaching negative labels to yourself or others based on one behavior or action. Personalization. Taking things too personally and assuming that everything is about you. Emotional reasoning. Thinking that your emotions reflect reality, without questioning whether they are based on facts or evidence. It's important to become familiar with these cognitive distortions. Reality testing. Ask yourself whether your thoughts are based on facts or evidence. When you are in a pattern of overthinking, take a few moments to determine whether your thoughts are based on reality. By reality testing, we can challenge our negative thoughts and replace them with more realistic and balanced ones. Alternatives challenge your automatic thoughts by coming up with alternative, more balanced thoughts. When we seek alternative perspectives, we open our minds to viewpoints that can significantly reduce the tendency to overthink. Evidence seeking. This is similar to reality testing, but with a specific focus on finding evidence. Practice. Gratitude. Practicing gratitude is a powerful way to combat overthinking. Seek support and perspective. If you find yourself constantly overthinking a situation, it can be helpful to seek support from others. Additionally, seeking professional help from a therapist or counselor can provide you with valuable support and guidance in managing your overthinking. Work on your self-esteem. We've noted, overthinking is often connected in some way to low self-esteem or a lack of confidence. Working on building your self-esteem can help you break free from these patterns of thinking. Distract your brain. Sometimes the best thing you can do to beat overthinking is to distract your brain with something else to think about. Often, your subconscious will continue to problem solve while you actively think about something else. Spend time in prayer and meditation. Prayer and meditation can be highly effective ways to stop overthinking. Both require quieting your mind and focusing on the present moment. Perform cognitive restructuring. Another helpful technique for challenging repetitive thinking is cognitive restructuring. Identify your negative thoughts. Pay attention to when you start spiraling into repetitive negative thoughts. Challenge the thought. Ask yourself if there is evidence to support this thought. Replace with a positive thought. Once you have challenged the negative thought, replace it with a more positive and realistic one. For example, let's say you receive some constructive feedback on a paper you wrote. By changing your thought pattern, you can prevent yourself from falling into a cycle of repetitive negative thinking. Practice self-acceptance. You may be thinking, how does self-acceptance relate to overthinking? It actually relates in a few key ways. Focus on the present moment. As we noted earlier, overthinking tends to take us either into the future or the past. To combat this, it's important to refocus your thoughts on the present moment. Make a firm decision. Sometimes the only way to bring overthinking to an end is to make a firm decision and stick to it. Once you've made your decision, stick with it. Final thoughts. Own your thoughts. Master your brain. We've covered a lot of ground in this book. We've discussed both abstract theories as well as concrete information. The good news is that you don't need to implement all these things in order to overcome overthinking. It's important to remember that it takes practice to quiet your restless brain. It's also important to practice self-acceptance and remember that it's okay to have anxious or racing thoughts. Now, it's time to put your learning into practice. Here's to having a brain that's in control.